Once again, pay attention to if the femurs move away from each other, the knees still move towards each other. There is a wide space, more from the back of the thigh than from the top of the thigh, so that the femurs rotate in even with that little more subtle action. But the subtlety in the pose has almost always to do with discovering a pranic movement, which begins with observing the breath. So certainly you want to use your musculature to sit up very straight, make all the adjustment you need with your sit bones and pelvis and so on. But then consider that as the femurs become heavier, the ankles become heavier, the knees don't become heavier, the whole pelvis has a sense of lifting, as though the hip bones are lifting away from the sit bones, not but done by a muscular action. It is done by what I have described before. I will repeat: hip bones towards each other, wide space in the sacrum, preferably equal space, then in the front of the sacrum, and then that sensation continues to the front of the tailbone, where even though in this pose I am untucking the pelvis more than I would do in Dandasana, the tailbone doesn't untuck anymore. Having created a basic posture, release the tailbone to the pelvis into a sense of that space in the front. So if my right groin had more space than the left, when we begin in Baddha Konasana, the right side of the tailbone will also have more space. So when I release forward, I pay more attention to releasing that side on which there is more space. Because there is more space, it tends to fall back. It rotates back. So my tailbone has rotated to the right if there is more space in the right groin. I'm not asking you to rotate one way or the other. Just release the tailbone equally forward, paying more attention to the side on which there is more space in the groin. So that that inner sense of height that is created will be equal from the sit bone to the hip bones between my left and the right side. The more subtle your examination is, the more you might find that it is not equal. When I look at it without that subtlety, I feel like, yes, I'm sitting evenly. The disadvantage of practicing yoga subtle with this subtlety is you discover more problems. No matter how much I adjust, the left is never exactly the same as the right. But don't be disheartened by that. Use this to your advantage. The fact that you are able to observe that means there is an ability to look at it in a more subtle way.